Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. Starting a new series today. Going to diverge a little bit from the typical historical genre, but still in the strategy gaming world and in a game that I play often. I had a request from one of my patrons, and he has asked me to play the Hearts of Iron 4 Lord of the Rings mod as the Dwarves. And along with that, what he's asked me to do is to talk a little bit more through my decisions that I make. So what I've decided to do with this series is, rather than what I typically do with the Hearts of Iron 4 series, which is to jump in and out as conditions warrant, I'm just going to play through like I would on a live stream, where I'm not going to cut in and out. And so you'll see every decision I make, every choice about research, every choice about building armies. Nothing will be left out. It means it'll move a little slower, but you'll get to see more. So it'll be different. So Michael Frazee, this is for you, at your request. And if you are out there and you would like to be one of those patrons who is able to help make choices about the games that I play, either at a lower level where you can kind of vote on decisions about mods. That's why I'm currently playing the game Order of Battle U.S. Pacific, because that was voted on by the patrons. Or if you're at a higher level, you have to actually get, like Michael, to pick a series that I play and pick the parameters of that. So that's what we're doing. We're going to dive into the Lord of the Rings mod. I've played this a little bit, but not real often. We're going to take on the Kingdom of Erebor. Let's just take a look at the map here. If you're not familiar at all with the Lord of the Rings world, you'll hopefully pick up and learn a few things along the way. But Erebor is up here all the way in the north, and they are kind of the main kingdom of elves, or not of elves, but of dwarves. And the dwarves are who I am taking on today. And there is another smaller kingdom of dwarves right here in Moria, but we're going to take on Erebor because I think that's the stronger of the choices. We'll keep the regular difficulty, and we will dive in. Now, this mod isn't what I would call a total immersion mod. For example, the dates are still World War II dates, and so I think we start in 1936, for example. But they have gone with that with national focuses. Now, some of the weaponry is more set to Lord of the Rings. So you have iron axes, you have shields, armor, things like that. But then you do still have tanks. So it's kind of a mixed thing where it's not completely fleshed out as a mod, but it's enough to make it a little different, make it a little interesting. So as the Kingdom of Erebor, my path that I'm going to plan to take is to stay on the good guy side, so to speak. So that means that eventually I'll probably be at war with people like the Eastlands, with Mordor. I'll end up allied with folks like Gondor, and maybe the Elves of Mirkwood. We'll see as things go along. All of the typical ideologies do exist, like fascism, communism, etc. So we're going to start, as I often do, by focusing on industry at the beginning, and then we'll kind of respond to world events as they unfold. Definitely want to go with this one here. This is one of the first things I always do. It gives you a 2% reduction in research time, and the sooner you can get those research bonuses, the more they help you, because they help throughout the entire game. As far as national focus goes, everything starts with the fate of Erebor. You don't have any choice on that, and that gets you a political power bonus of 100, so that's nice. And then I'm going to start. The first thing I want to look at is what the cost is to convert factories. Because ideally, I would convert all of my military factories to civilian off the bat, and then eventually build military factories. But I don't know if that's ideal. Let me see what it just costs to actually build a civilian factory versus converting. It's actually cheaper at the moment to just build a civilian factory. Now, that'll change as I make changes through research and things like that. But we're going to start by just starting to queue up some additional civilian factories. We're going to form just one army for now. We don't have a lot of divisions. Eventually that'll change as conditions warrant. I've got 15 divisions in my army. It looks like it's a mix of light tank divisions, mountain dwarf divisions, dwarf infantry. So a little bit of everything. We've got Gimli. He's a 6. That's amazing. But I think I'm probably going to have to send him to be part of the Fellowship of the Ring, so that's probably not going to last. And we will start queuing up, I think for now, let's go light tank divisions. And I'm just going to queue up one, at least until I kind of get moving along a little bit and I get a sense of where things are with this stuff. And then, of course, I've got to look at production. And I'm going to have to produce armored vehicles for my tank divisions. I don't know what else I may need. Let's take a look and see. I need motorized. So, kind of a mix of everything, and I've only got 5 military factories at the moment. So, not a lot. But we'll start there, and then we'll kind of work our way around from there. Oh, I have 9 military factories. Okay, perfect. So we'll build some more tanks. We need to trade for oil and rubber. I want to be careful who I trade with. Rivendell, those are good guys. I don't want to give any bad guys some additional help by trading with them, which basically when you trade with people, you for those not familiar with the game, you're giving them additional civilian factories that can be used for other things. That's kind of how the trade system works. And likewise, when you're exporting. So it's going to move pretty fast, but a lot of decisions are going to happen right off the bat. The War of the Ring evolves around many things, but of course, a small golden trinket lies at the center of it all, the One Ring. In this mod, the One Ring adopts the form of a national spirit that grants a very significant stat boost to all your divisions. The nations of Lothlorien, Isengard, Gondor, and Mordor can try to obtain the One Ring through their focus tree during specific time frames. The likeliness of these attempts being successful depends on a strength of the Fellowship protecting Frodo. Around December 1936, Rivendell will invoke Elrond's Council. The nations of Gondor, Mirkwood, and Erebor, that's me, can now choose to add either their finest warrior, a decent replacement, or no one at all to the Fellowship. Watch out for news event entitled The Fellowship of the Ring and take a quick glance at the event's picture. It will quickly reveal who is likely part of the Fellowship, and you'll be able to estimate how likely the ring is to be intercepted. Should no nation manage to obtain the ring by 1943, Frodo will destroy it, and the nation of Mordor will be severely weakened. Should anything be unclear? Okay, so we're going to probably want to send Gimli when the time comes, so he's not going to last as the general in charge of my army. We're going to go ahead and put these guys over here on the border with Eastland, at least for now. And then while I'm waiting, and this is going to happen pretty fast, I want to think about some of the decisions I'll be able to make with my political power. I'm gaining 1 per day. There's civilian economy. There's political advisors. Civilian construction speed for civilian factories, refineries, and infrastructure might be the way to go. We'll see. Paranormal activity. Oh, Lord Balin is dead. A lot of these just have to do with the events in the story of the Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to sit here and read every single one of these. But basically, now there's going to be a war between the Free Orcs of Moria, and they're going to lose that. Well, the Orcs are going to win. The Dwarves of Moria are going to lose that battle pretty quickly, I'm afraid. All right, Moria asks for help. I don't think there's a lot I'm going to be able to do. If I choose Erebor answers the call, I lose 200,000 in manpower, which is basically all they have. Unfortunately, I'm going to leave them to their fate. Speaking of fate, there's my first national focus. And so now we have a choice. We have the fate of Dale, which allows me to go down the road of either gaining some wealth and some trade ability or antagonizing and taking out Dale. I also have some choices here about industrial effort, which I think will be really helpful early on. They're going to give me additional civilian factories, so that's a quick way to get my civilian factories up and running. So I'll probably go there first. Then looking at the fate of Dale, if you go down the tree to reconcile Dale, nothing much early on, but down here you get share Erebor's wealth with Dale. And so I lose some production and they gain some, but then down here you'll see I gain 5 civilian factories in trading those things out. So honestly, it's a worthwhile trade-off, I think. So those 2 things are going to give me some boost to my civilian factories, which will help me in the early game, and then I can start ramping up for war. I also got that 100 political power bonus, so now I've got a choice to make here about political advisors. I don't think I need to change my conscription laws just yet. I can change my mobilization law, which is going to reduce the hit that I'm taking to construction speed on factories right now. And I think that's where I'll go, is to partial mobilization. That's going to allow me to construct these factories a lot faster. So it's still going to take me, as you can see, all the way up to August to get my first one done, because I've only got 7 factories working on it. So I'm only basically building half a factory at any given time. So now we've completed electronic engineering. That's going to give me a bonus to research time. Another one right here, another 3% reduction in the time it takes for research. So we're definitely going to choose that one as well. Mordor has generated the largest world tension threat. Okay, there, the Free Orcs of Moria have won. We knew that would happen. I don't know what the actions are that Mordor is taking that's ramping up world tension right now, but... Alright, there's basic machine tools. There's prepare for war with ruin. And we're going to continue down this path. We could strike preemptively, which gives me a puppet focus war goal against Dagger Lad. I'm not interested in going to war right now. I am interested in adding these 5 military factories, and then here... I don't know why I was thinking those were going to be civilian factories. So maybe I go this route first. Let's go ahead and just do this one just because it'll be a quick 70 days and I'll automatically get those military factories, but then I think we'll shift focus. Right here, concentrated industry 1. The difference really here is the vulnerability to bombing and a few other little things, but what I want to do is I want to go concentrated industry because it gives me a higher max factories in the state, gives me a nice factory output. And I'm planning on building up some fighters. I don't necessarily plan on using planes for offensive campaign actions, more to just make sure I have air superiority so that somebody else isn't getting me with their planes. Rather than focusing on having a lot of different things, I tend to try and focus on a few things and do them well. So, for example, I focus real heavily on armor rather than having a mix of infantry and armor. It just allows me, especially on a small map like this, I can just quickly kind of jump on a target and take them out. Plus, it allows me to not have to focus so much on a lot of different research. There's really no reason whatsoever for me to focus on Navy in this game. Let's take a look here. I think we might switch now over to engineering. Nope. Let's look at land doctrine. So mobile warfare goes along with my focus on armor. So I usually kind of always keep one of my research trees focused on land doctrine because that's an easy way to get a lot of bonuses to your army. Alright, looks like we've got another opportunity here. I'm going to pause for modified government. And I think this time we'll go captain of industry. It's going to again give me a bonus to the speed at which I produce factories. All of this in the early game for me is about building up my ability to make war. Hobbit Inventor discovers 3rd breakfast. So that's kind of cool. Angmar seeks independence. Wizards clash at Orthanc. And so those are all the events that are unfolding in the story of the Lord of the Rings as we go along. There's weapon manufacturing. I could go right here and just another 3 quick military factories. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and switch over to focusing on the civilian factories, which is honestly, in hindsight, what I should have done first. But let's take a look at the situation with my production. So, gonna need more infantry equipment, kind of built a little quicker. But I'm not gonna queue up more than 1 division at a time right now. Just because it's hard enough to produce as it is. I don't think there's any decisions that I really want to do. These are all pretty generic decisions. I am going to want to build up... I've got 50 army experience already, so that's actually good. Let's take a look at the makeup of my divisions. So ideally, I like to have my infantry divisions at a combat width of 20, or at the very least have them in the tank divisions at a combined width of 20. I think I'll probably go ahead and bring both of them up so that they're at 20. Now, adding support units I don't think affects the combat width at all. So I'm actually just going to add some tank divisions. That actually gets me to 16. Maybe we'll add some additional motorized infantry. That gets me to 18. Okay. So let's do that. That makes the divisions bigger, but they're going to be more powerful. And I feel like that's kind of the direction I want to go right now, is fewer units but more powerful units. Because I don't have a lot of ground I have to cover, so there's not a reason to have 100 divisions on this game, at least not early on. So I'd rather have really powerful hammer strokes that I can hit with. The King of Rohan diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I guess that's one way to look at it. Technically, Theoden's being possessed by Sauron, who is the wizard who controls Isengard down here. But all right, so we're on to another national focus. Now we're going to switch over to the fate of Dale. Let's look now at the production. Going pretty well here. Obviously, I need to produce a lot more tanks now because of the additional units that I've added to each tank division. I guess I got to choose wisely here because I don't want to have to trade for additional resources right now. So we completed our first civilian factory, it looks like. It's going a little faster now. It's still going to take till February to get my next one done. I've actually got fewer civilian factories available now than I did before. And part of that has to do with some changes that are happening. Mechanical computing, mobile warfare, and concentrated industry are all done. So we're about as far as we can go now, except right here I could do the reinforce rate, which might come in handy later once I'm at war, but for now it doesn't really help me a lot. We're almost into 1937, so I think we can go ahead with Concentrated Industry 2 now. I want to look at armor for a second, because I've already started producing tanks, but in 180 days I could start getting a better tank, so might as well do that as early as possible so I'm producing better weapons right off the bat. And I think we'll go ahead and at least start researching air power a little bit. We're almost into 1937, so it's moving along pretty fast. This mod sims a lot faster than some do. Alright, so here we go. The fate of Dale. Now Rivendell asks for assistance. We're going to send our finest warrior, Gimli, and we're going to hope that everybody else did too, or I just sent away by far my best general. Because now we're down to a 3 rather than 6, who was my finest before. All right, now we're gonna go down the path of reconcile Dale rather than trying to subject them by force. And I've also once again got enough government power to make some choices here. I think we'll probably go. This actually gives me. I don't really need additional army experience right now. I'm just feeling like there's not a lot of choices I really care to make at the moment with all of this. Maybe we'll go ahead to limited conscription. Build up a nice amount of manpower. I've got 184,000, but alright, let's take a look. Can we see the Fellowship of the Ring at this point? Where do we need to go? There's Rivendell right here. I don't know if this is where we... I know it told me where we see the Fellowship, and I already forget where that is, so... I guess we'll figure it out as we go along. So there's not a lot happening at the moment. We're just going to continue to work on building up the army. Alright, it looks like infantry equipment is finally maxed out, so we'll start working on some other things here, and that's going to mean changes to trade, unfortunately. Got to send out another civilian factory to help with the trade, which means I'm down to just 5 for construction. But we're gonna double that number here with the next couple of national focuses. Gonna be a while before any research is done, so we'll just keep an eye out for what's happening in the world. Eastland is probably the threat on my border right now that I have to worry about. Dale is going to be my friend. The Elves of Mirkwood, I believe, should be my friend. Of course, who knows what choices they'll make down the road. In fact, let's kind of look at the map here and see a couple of things. Diplomacy, I'm not really any diplomatic relations of any note anywhere here. Factions, the Dark Pact and the Gondor Alliance. And it looks like we've got 2 members of that. That's probably the alliance we'll end up trying to join. We also have a resource map that I want to look at for just a second, because I probably need some steel, especially if I want to... no, it's oil, I guess, that I need most, huh? Oil and rubber. So who's got any of that stuff? Oh, it looks like the Elves of Mirkwood have some of those things, but I'm not going to invade them. Although, wow, I guess I should really consider it, because they are resource heavy, big time. I just have mostly metals, which makes sense for dwarves who mine. But man, the elves, because they have all the forests, they have rubber and oil, or mostly rubber. Let's see who has the oil. A lot of oil, a lot of production in Mordor. Boy, Mordor is just oozing with production capability there. So is Gondor. So that makes it a little more challenging for me, because I don't have the resources that some of those other larger kingdoms do, which is why I'm going to ally with some of them. You can see my manpower is almost doubled already. Okay, we've got government points again. I think I'm going to go ahead and just look at... Moria elect Balrog as their leader. You shall not pass! Division attack. Okay. So honestly, I haven't really kept track of how long this is. When I normally do Hearts of Iron, I can kind of check, because I make 1 to 2 minute video segments, and then I kind of keep track of where I am. So we're just going to play until it seems like a natural stopping point for this first episode. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe the end of 1937, maybe 1938. We'll make these videos a little longer, since I'm not cutting in and out, so there's not going to be as much action from minute to minute. Alright, let's see what's happening here. We've got unfulfilled import requests. So Rivendell is not giving me what I need, so I may have to get it elsewhere. Let me see. Yeah, so we're down on oil by 12. I don't know why. Oh, it might have something to do with the fact that I don't have any convoys. I don't know. Although I should be able to reach them. Yeah, I don't even border the ocean, so I don't need convoys. Alright, there's Light Tank 2, and there are my first fighters. So we're going to upgrade our production to the new tanks. We're going to go ahead and get our 1936 fighters going, and then we'll start building some of those. I'm also going to go ahead and work on air doctrine. Let's go back to land doctrine now. It's right here. Continue focusing on that. Because right now, a lot of the things I would do for infrastructure, for factories, things like that, as far as research goes, I'm going to have to wait till 1938. So I've got a little bit of time to focus on some other things. I'm going to look at production here for a second. Saruman denounces Rohan's integrity. Well, we know he's going to go to war with them sooner rather than later. Alright, so I think we're probably safe at this point to start queuing up a second light tank division. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to increase the number of light tanks we're producing, which of course now requires me to trade for steel. So I really need to be able to produce more, which means I think once I get a few more... There we go, we just added our civilian factories. That helps a lot. I think I need to start focusing a little bit on infrastructure, because as you'll see, infrastructure actually improves what you're producing. So that's helpful. It's a quick, easy way to add to your production levels without having to do a lot to get it. I think we'll start over here, because it seems like I can produce more that way. Alright. Now we've completed those national focuses. So now I need to think about what I want to do next, and I think it's probably going to be industrial effort. Although let's look here. Reopen the mines of Erebor is going to give me an instant boost to production in some key areas, including oil and steel. So let's do that first. That's going to free up some civilian factories because I won't have to trade for those things. Alright, I think we can reduce all the way down on the motorized we're producing. I always keep at least one factory because it keeps the production efficiency where it needs to be, even if I'm producing more than I need, because once I go to war, I'm going to need more of those things anyway. So I'm building up a little bit of a stockpile while simultaneously working on what I need for reinforcements. Faramir is dead. Wow, that's our first major divergence from what happened in the real story. The son of the Steward of Gondor, Faramir, is dead. The Steward's son recently departed from Rivendell. Also, they sent Faramir instead of Boromir. So he died where his brother Boromir normally would have died. So that means that Gondor did not send their best warrior. So I'm a little disappointed that I sent mine. Alright, so we add our 17th Division. We've reopened the mines of Erebor. Let's take a look and see what's down this path. 4 more civilian factories available right there. Beautiful. Desperately need those things. So there's a lot of ways to ramp up my my production without having to go in and construct them all myself. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue with the research on air doctrine. We're going to get our fighters going pretty soon here. And let's see, we're into October of 1937. Haradwaith stands with Mordor. So it looks like they've got their first ally. I guess that's, yeah, down here to the south. So that's a huge chunk of real estate that is all allied now. So we're going to need everybody we can to stand against the might of Mordor when the time comes. I've definitely got to ramp up production. Oh, Mordor declares war on the Eastlands. That's interesting. So that's the territory over here, which I thought was going to be an enemy of mine, but it may turn out that they now need allies. We've got our fighters done. I'm not going to continue working on fighters, or working on air power right now. I think we are going to work on artillery, though. So Eastlands is a non-aligned, really kind of just floater kind of out there by themselves. Let me see what Daggerlad is. They're also no faction, non-aligned. Kingdom of Angmar joined the Gondor Alliance. So that's some good news. We're starting to see the good guys start to ally up. Let's get these 4 civilian factories and 5 building slots right there. And I want to look at my... Okay, I'm up to 10 civilian factories that are currently working on infrastructure, which is going to increase my production. And then I'm going to actually, let's see, I want to build up infrastructure just as a matter of practicality, as it connects to places that I may go to war with, just because I may need that infrastructure to be a little higher, so supplies will flow more freely in those regions. I don't need it there so much. And we'll build that up a little bit there too. So let's see how long infrastructure is going to take. Not nearly as long. It's only 3,000 for each infrastructure, so that, you can see, happens fairly quickly. There's another division. We're up to 18. So I've got only 143,000 in my army in the field right now. There's damage repair. Dig Deeper is going to give me another 12 steel and 5 oil, but I feel like maybe there are other priorities right now. Yeah, here's again an ability to add more civilian factories. I'm thinking 1940-ish is where I probably will consider allowing myself to get into a conflict for the first time. Keep that land doctrine research going. I want to look one more time at my production situation. I'm still way behind on the number of tanks that I need to be producing, so I've got to ramp that up. And I think in the meantime I can probably go ahead and queue up at least one infantry division, just because I've got the available resources to do that with little trouble. In fact, I may be able to do more than one. I want to look for a second too at my infantry divisions, because we need to build those up a little bit too, and that's going to use a lot of these resources. I'm going to go ahead and put a... Here we go. This is what I'm looking for, is artillery. That's archers, crossbow marksmen, siege ladder brigades. I guess we'll go with archers. And we'll do 2 of those, because that's going to get me up to that magic number of 20, which is what I'm kind of after. But now we'll see where that puts me as far as production goes, because I don't have artillery production. There it is. Actually, you know what? I think the changes I just made are things I didn't want to make, because I thought maybe that archers were the artillery, but now I'm not so sure of that. No. Maybe that is artillery. Okay. Yeah, because as soon as I started producing the artillery, that disappeared. So here's what I need to do. I need to get some more military factories to start producing that artillery. So we're going to have to reduce at least a little bit the tanks that I'm producing, so I can start producing some of that artillery. And we've got 2 research slots available. I want to look at support companies for a minute, because I think I'm going to want to add field hospitals to all of my divisions. And then let's go ahead and start upgrading the infantry equipment. I'm not going to rush these units into the field. I'll let them get their full training before they come out. Alright, where were we? We're over here now. Expand the Eastern Industry. I got a ton of political points available to me now. I'm just not so sure there's anything I really want to do with them. The Northern Waste, I don't think that's really anything to worry about. At least I hope it's not, because if they invade me, I'm really not prepared for that. Alright, we're going to get our tank designer. That's going to improve my reliability of my armor. We'll do the same with the aircraft, and we're going to focus on fighters. And I think that'll be good for now. So it looks like the Hunters of the Marshes are now at war with Eastland as well. Does that mean that they're on Mordor's side? Prince Theoden. Boy, that is a really bad joke, guys. Prince Theodred dies. He is the son of the king of Rohan. So that is consistent with what happened in the story itself. I want to look real quick. Okay, world tensions at 32 or 62% now. So here's the war. We've got, Eastlands are up against the Hunters of the Marshes, Mordor, Isengard, Angmar, and Haradwaith. So the bad guys are in full force, kind of going to war. So I guess really I probably need to move my divisions from the border with the Eastlands and move it to the Hunters of the Marshes instead, because that's obviously the people I need to worry about. Okay, we're up to 14 civilian factories that are out there producing now. I'm going to start producing some additional military factories for the first time. Start getting some of those queued up, because I'm going to need those. And those, what do they cost? They only cost $7,200 to build, so they're fairly easy to pump out. Especially now that I just added even more civilian factories. Okay. We got a little glitching there going on. Let's see, rare minerals, iron ore. I don't think either one of those things are things I need to worry about right now. Nor do we want to worry about nuclear research. We've got a motorization effort over here. Again, I don't think there's anything there I really care about a whole lot. Although, mithril tanks seem kind of cool. So at some point we may get those, just because it sounds awesome to have a mithril tank. For now, though, I think it's time to start focusing on my political kind of inward focus here. What's the build-up defenses? Land forts in the Iron Hills, and a ton of infrastructure and anti-air. So that's actually a really simple way to add a lot. So let's go ahead and do that. I think we will go to the end of 1938, and we'll call that a good stopping point, because I think a lot's going to happen in episode 2 when we probably will find ourselves at war. There's another division in the field that gets me to 20. It gives me still just 151,000 men in the field. I'm going to need a lot more than that before this is all said and done. So I need to start ramping up my military factories, because I've got a lot of manpower just sitting there not being used. So we just got to ramp up our ability to build tanks and towed artillery. The Great Spiders declare war on the Mirkwood Elves. My goodness. So everybody's going to war all around us here in 1938. So we'll have to just be cautious of that, because I really don't feel prepared to go to war yet. Got to build up our armor again. But it'll be better once I get some more of these military factories in the field. Alright, we had a little glitch there, but all is well. Let's continue on. It looks like the Eastlands are actually taking it to Mordor right now, which is kind of awesome, if you think about it. I almost feel like I want to jump in on their side and help out with this. I want to see who all's... Okay, these are 2 separate wars at the moment. But the Eastlands, man, look at them go. This is fantastic. They are outnumbered maybe as much as 3-1, but they're winning the war. I love it. Alright, so now we're going to go to Home of the Dwarves. Actually, wait. I thought we already did this, but I guess not. So we're going to do the rail network, because that's going to give me a bunch of infrastructure. And then we've got Road to the North, which adds infrastructure. Either way, we're going to add some, so that's good. Then I think we'll go Home of the Dwarves. That's going to boost my stability, my recruitable population factor, then political effort, and then I've got a choice to make between power to the miners and power to the monarchs. I think I'm going to go democratic, so we'll go that way. All right. It gives me 21 divisions now. And I think we'll go with maintenance companies. And then I want to go back and look again at my units, because I want to add the first aid tent. And then I'll do the same with light tank. And then I'm going to have to eventually get some more army experience so I can make further changes to those divisions. Now, I think that's going to require me to produce more support equipment. It does, but not much more. So that'll happen pretty much on its own. And it looks like towed artillery is starting to get caught up too, so we can start kind of shifting our focus back to tanks again. Alright, let's see how this war's going. Eastlands are still taking it to Mordor. I'm really impressed by that. Alright, civilian factories are freed up. Let's keep producing these military factories. I've got limited space for factories, so I'm not going to be able to produce too many. But I can produce some. And those are, the next 3 will all go into producing tanks, which actually I'm starting to get caught up on. I'm going to look at trade, for example. Okay. Yeah, I should have checked this sooner, because with the changes through national focus, I've actually freed up a lot more resources, and I don't need to be trading for them anymore. Arthedian seeks to reunite Arnor. That's awesome. Great. Good for you. I'm not going to worry about the infrastructure right now. I'm going to change my focus over here. So we're almost to the end of 1938. There's another land doctrine complete. Let's see what's happening with this other war here, because I'm not entirely sure how I even want to feel about this one. I feel like I don't want to support the spiders, and it looks like Greenwood the Great and Entwood are winning that war, so that's good news. Rohan celebrates a royal wedding. King Theoden of Rohan and known as the White Lady of Rohan, Eowyn, have announced an engagement. No, not to Grima. Oh, that's awful. Oh, she's my favorite character in the Lord of the Rings series, too. I don't want her to marry that guy. She's supposed to marry Faramir. But he's dead, so I guess that's not an option. So Gondor now is in alliance with the folks that are at war. So I would expect that we're going to see Gondor enter this war. So we'll take just a minute to see if that happens. And then I think I'll wrap this up right here because we're into 1939. I think a lot's about to happen. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out moving forward. Gondor has joined that war. That kind of evens things out. I feel like that's not going to go well for the Dark Pact. So we'll come back and see what happens in the next episode. Let me know your thoughts. I know this is a little bit less traditional than what I normally do, but it was requested, and it's kind of fun. I love the Lord of the Rings world. So let me know your thoughts about what I should do moving forward. Should I stay out of it? Or should I jump in on somebody's side? Because I probably can do that soon once the world tension goes a little higher. So we'll see. Please hit that thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you again in the next couple of days with episode 2. Thanks for watching.